Talk about the KLR 650 and my initial impressions and thoughts on the purchase of that motorcycle. First of all, I'll get this out of the way right off the bat. It's a great bike. I love it. I don't have any significant issues or problems, but just to go over a few things in case you're thinking about buying a KLR. Cover the price, start with. That's one of the major considerations when I was looking at new bikes. I looked at the Honda Africa Twin. That's a much more expensive motorcycle. It's kind of the same genre type bike, but it's a whole lot more expensive. The KLR is a relatively inexpensive motorcycle. The base price for mine was $7,699. Now, of course, they add in freight and documentation fees and registration and sales tax and all that stuff. So by the time it's out the door, all inclusive, tax, title, tags, everything's $9,025.70. That's what I paid for mine. Now, I'll be the first to say, often I will negotiate with and try to get people to do a little bit better on price. In this case, I didn't do that. It's just what they were asking, and I was in a little bit of a hurry and had so many other things going on, didn't have a whole lot of time to deal with that, and just wasn't interested in it. So I just paid the sticker price. That's what they were asking for it, and I think it's more than fair. So price is a big consideration. So if you're looking for a nice off-road adventure motorcycle, it's very affordable, comparatively speaking. KLR is going to check that block for you. One thing to consider, one very important thing is your height and more importantly, the length of your legs. All of us are built a little bit different. I like tall motorcycles. I'm right at about 6'3", maybe a little bit more than 6'3", relatively long legs. And my feet barely touch the ground on this bike. Reminds me of my first XL 250 I got when I was 14 years old, I think. I left the dealership on that 250. My tippy toes just barely touched the ground on that bike. And this thing reminds me of that day when I picked up the 250. But it is a very tall motorcycle. And I read a lot of reviews from other people that have issues and problems with that. And if you don't have long legs, relatively tall, you're going to have problems with this bike. So that's one big consideration. Make sure you test it out, try it out. If possible, ride around a little bit, get a feel for it, make sure you're going to be comfortable with it. You don't want to get a bike that you're not going to be comfortable with, and that's a common issue. Now, if you're built like I am, you're relatively tall, got long legs, perfect motorcycle for you. So, it's just like buying clothes. Motorcycles are not all alike, and they don't all fit everybody. You need to buy a bike that fits you and that is comfortable for you to ride. For me, it's a perfect motorcycle, perfect height. Matter of fact, when I was looking at motorcycles, I was worried about it being too short. Not a problem with this thing at all. Vibration. I read a lot of reports that KLRs have a little bit of excessive vibration. I find that to be true. Doesn't bother me. It's pretty good sized motor in this thing. Single cylinder motor. It's to be expected. On the trails and short rides, not an issue whatsoever. When you're riding relatively long distance on the highway, it's a little bit fatiguing on the throttle hand. To me, it's not so much that it's a major issue of concern, and it's a small trade-off, and I'm not concerned about that whatsoever. But that is something I've read a lot of other people making comments about, and I find that to be true. It does have a little more vibration than most motorcycles that I've ridden in the past. It's got good power. It is not a crotch rocket. People trip me out with some of the comments when they talk about motorcycles. You have to take into account what it is made to do. It is not meant to be a racing bike. It's not a street bike primarily. It's an off-road, what I would call an off-road bike. These days, people like to use the term adventure bike. Tomato, off-road adventure, call it whatever you want. It's designed to run on the road and off-road and the trails and that kind of thing. It is not designed to compete with motocross bikes. It's not a motocross bike. It's not a serious dirt bike. It's not designed to be a street bike as far as like long distance comfort and that sort of thing. It's a compromise between different things. It's a bike that you can use for transportation. It can get you to and from work. It can get you to and from errands. It can ride it up to the coffee shop, to the bank, to whatever you want to do with it. It has a little bit of luggage capacity, at least mine does. Got a couple of plastic boxes on the side. It'll hold moderate stuff. You can put another box in the center on the right behind the seat, and decent storage for the things that you might want to take, along with a backpack. I have a motorcycle backpack I've had for years and years, and most of my stuff goes in that. But it is nice to have the little storage compartments on it. But again, it is not designed to compete with Harley Road Kings and Honda Gold Wings and that sort of thing. It's not that kind of bike. So you have to make sure you're cognizant of what it's designed to do, and that's going to be in line with what you want it to do. I bought it for those reasons. I want to be able to ride it off the trails and that kind of stuff. We have in our community where I live at, we have a lot of undeveloped properties, a lot of undeveloped roads. It's cul-de-sacs, roads that just run off into nowhere and drive around through the woods. And in a vehicle, it's kind of hard to get back to some of these places because a lot of these things are not maintained that well, and they're rutted out. But on a motorcycle like a KLR, it's fun to go exploring those things and just riding around back there where other people can't easily get to. And it's good for logging roads, that sort of thing. Even riding through the woods, if you could find a space wide enough between the trees, go out and do that sort of thing. So it's a good bike for that. I saw a guy try to take one up a side of a mountain on a trail that was designed for two-stroke dirt bikes. That was a bad idea. It didn't look like a pleasurable experience to me, and I would have never taken it there. It's not designed for that. But hey, it's his bike, his body, where floats his boat. He managed to get it up there and then back down after dumping it a few times, but I wouldn't have done that for it because it's not designed for that. You want to do that, you need a lighter, 250, 450, something like that, actual motocross bike or a dirt bike. Not so, and I will mention as well too, the handlebars are extremely wide on this thing. It's got little extensions on it for protecting it when if it's dropped. It's intended to be that type ride, and you're riding on the trails and the mud and stuff. Sooner or later, you're going to hit a slick spot and it's going to fall over. It's got an engine guard on it. So it's not that you want to be dumping it all the time, but it's made to take a little bit of abuse. That also makes, and the handlebars themselves are wide to begin with. It probably has the widest handlebars, I think, of any motorcycle I ever remember riding or owning. And I've owned CB750Ks, as I said, XL250, many other bikes throughout life, and I've owned a few motocross bikes as well. So, and a CB900 Honda. That was an interesting bike. We'll talk about that some other days. Beautiful bike, nice discussion piece, but one of the worst motorcycles I've ever owned from a riding standpoint, that CB900. And it's not stable at high speeds. Mine wasn't. I read a lot of articles about other people that had issues with it. Makes a great conversation piece. You want to ride around the block, it's good for that. But other than that, I don't recommend the 900. But anyway, back to the KLR. KLR, for what it's made for and for my purposes, great motorcycle. Really enjoying it. Looking forward to spending a lot more time on it. And I bought it to do a combination of things, to have fun with it, to be able to play with it in the evenings or weekends whenever I have time, be able to do a little bit of motorcycle camping, be able to do a little bit of motorcycle, what I call day camping. Simply that you're not going to go out and spend the night someplace, but you go out and set your little campsite up and maybe cook a meal, make some coffee, stretch your hammock out, hang out, and enjoy a few hours of peace and quiet, and then pack it up and go back home. So that's what I call motorcycle day camping. You can call it whatever you want. But if that, and if you have time to do it, actual motorcycle camping, go out and stay someplace overnight or for the weekend or for a week or whatever. There are people that travel all across the country on this thing, and that would be doable if you're doing back roads and if you're doing it primarily for the fun of it, and again, not as transportation. If you're just trying to cover maximum miles per day, you're going to be in traction. By the end of the day, it's not designed for that. If you're riding the back roads and enjoying the scenery and stopping every hour, 2 hours, stretching your legs and stuff, and then camping out in the evenings and that kind of stuff, be a whole lot of fun for that. You could do that all the way across the country if you wanted to. So, and some people do. Some people have done that. It's a proven bike. It's been around for a long time. It's got a lot of history. It's got an almost fanatical following worldwide. It's all kinds of KLR groups. So it's nice from that aspect of it. There are lots of things you can get and customize it if you want to. Mine has I think they're fog lights, extra lights came on it. It's got the storage boxes on the back of it, and that's it. It's just stock. Haven't put anything on it yet. The only thing I plan on putting on it anytime soon is I'm going to put a camera mount for my cell phone, which is what even though I have cameras, various other cameras, I like the cell phone. It's simple, it's quick, it's easy for making videos. So I'm gonna get a mount for that. And I have a GoPro somewhere over here, a little GoPro camera. So we'll get a mount to be able to put the GoPro on it, and just to make that a little bit easier for that. I don't have a shed for mine, so I bought a cover, inexpensive cover. That brings up another thing. Maybe I'll do a review on that. Sometimes people trip me out. Some of the things they put on YouTube, they're like, my cover ripped after 6 months. Well, they paid $30 for it, and they're upset. I'm like, if it lasted you 6 months and you paid $30-40 for it, you got your money's worth out of it. And you want something that's going to last a year or 2 or 3, then you're going to probably have to pay a couple of $100-300 for it. And then even that cover is going to get degraded by the sun. So I don't buy expensive covers, or at least right now I don't. And until I find some reason for doing that, I bought a decent cover. I think it was about $40, something like that, off of Amazon-ish, somewhere in that bracket. If it lasts me 6 months, I'll be perfectly happy with that, and I'll buy another one. And if it lasts a year, I'll keep using it until it comes apart. But probably annually, I'll just buy another cover for it until I get around to building a shed to put the bike in, to keep the dew off of it and to keep the rain off of it and that kind of thing. So, my initial impressions on this thing is great. It is, I do find myself searching for another gear. Just wind up pulling up on it one more time just to make sure I'm in high gear. It is a pretty fast bike. Mine's still in the break-in period, so I'm not running it all the way up, but I've had it up to about 75 miles an hour, and that's more than fast enough. That's excess of the speed limits around here. That'll get me what I need to do, so I'm not interested in running 100 and all that kind of stuff. So it'll hit the speed limit and be able to get around somebody if need to on that. So that's more than enough for me and for what I do. Don't know what the top end of it is. Haven't seen that. Wouldn't try to push the bike to that. As I said, it's still in its break-in period. I've got maybe close to a couple hundred miles at this point in time. So in the dealership said bring it back between 5 and 6. I'm gonna take it back right at 5, get the oil changed and all that stuff, and then we'll go from there. And I'll be doing additional videos and updates on it as we go through it. If you want to see the actual bike, make sure you're on my LD Sewell channel, and flip back through the videos, and you'll see one with pictures of the actual bike. It's not me riding it. I'll be putting some of that stuff up here shortly. Maybe later today I might make a video riding. I'm gonna take it out riding this afternoon for a little while. But pictures of the bike and that kind of stuff. So hopefully that helps you out, gives you a little bit of information. If you have a KLR or have considered the KLR, share your thoughts and comments in the section down there below, and tell us what you're thinking and your experiences with the KLR yourself. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon in the next video.